Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Covering Our Bases. From Mets to Mariners, we break down baseball's biggest highlights and headlines with unique context from each MLB team's perspective. As we cover our bases, we aim to educate, entertain, and engage the average baseball fan who just doesn't have the time to follow the other 29 teams around the league. Expect the fun storylines, patterns, predictions, and pageantry of Major League Baseball to be present at all times. He's Dastardly Dan Harrow. I'm Dubs Grizzles Warren Sprague, and we've got some special guests today, guys. From the realm of the Los Angeles Dodgers, welcome Mr. Dillon Rodriguez.
Hey, yo.
And from the realm of the San Diego Padres, we welcome Robben Stever.
Hello, hello, hello.
Gosh, I've got a question for everybody and an exciting discussion about the series we just saw in Seoul to start the season. But first, a different S word. Guys, we're talking about Snell. Blake Snell signed with the San Francisco Giants for 2 years and $62 million guaranteed, with a couple of Boris opt-outs in the middle. For both of our guests first, how much does this improve the Giants? Padres, are you worried? Dodgers, are you worried? And how much do you think Snell hates you personally since he stayed in your division? This question goes to you first, Robben, as our Padres expert. What does this do for your team?
For my team, I wish we had traded him, At least we could have gotten a body or two. Mm-hmm. But we let that contract go away. But anyway, him signing with the Giants, to be honest, I wish he would have just retired if he was going to do this. Off the Giants, in all honesty. If I hate any other team more than the Dodgers, it's the Giants. But he got that bag, so good for him.
Oh no, we're going to need to find an F word that we can censor our friends with.
I'm so sorry.
It's our first explicit episode right off the bat.
I'm so sorry, dude. I can censor myself.
I'm sure Dan will find a foghorn sound or something. Right?
Yeah, no, you're good. Absolutely.
I don't blame you, man. The salt is real, like the air in San Francisco itself.
Absolutely.
And you have every right to be. It blows that one of the finest pitchers of this offseason went to one of your greatest rivals. And I don't blame you for feeling pretty scorned. Not that you guys had a chance of signing him. I mean, you probably did if you wanted to pay him.
Overpay him.
Yeah.
Yeah, no shot. I said, I'm happy for him. Good for him. He got that money. But if you're going to go to a team, why'd you go there, dude?
Let's pause there before we hear from the Dodger. Dan, talk about the contract. Isn't this a bit of a disappointing development when the guy originally asks for 9 years, $270 million? Like, this is a big dip in that expectation and similar to what the Boris clients went through this offseason. So tell us a little bit about that before we, I guess, allow our Doyer to speak.
You're right, Warren. We discussed how it's taken a similar path, all of the Boris free agents. The only thing that we mentioned is it was mostly bats. We were waiting for Snell or Montgomery to go, but Snell followed the same path, has the opt-outs. He'll probably use an opt-out after this year, wait a year if he doesn't have a great year or gets injured or something like that. It's the same as all of the other Boris clients. So we'll probably see the same from Jordan Montgomery pretty soon, that they're not getting the long-term high dollar deals that they expected. So this is just probably the highest dollar offer that was on the table for Snell. And for San Francisco, it seems like a pretty decent number for the quality guy that they're getting, knowing that they'll probably only have him for a year, so it's not a long-term commitment.
There it is, right. Not a long-term commitment, which is usually what the Boris camp likes to get for their players. So kind of a downer, absolutely. And you'd have to hope maybe the rest of us who pined for Snell might have a chance at him in a year or so. Now, Dillon, I can't hold you back anymore. How do the Dodgers feel about this signing? Does it make the Giants a little bit more of a frightening opponent to you, or do you still think you're going to run roughshod over this division?
I mean, I want to say that we're not too worried about it because of the rotation that we have. And then once Buehler comes back for us, I think we'll be a lot better than every team in baseball. But I don't really think it's going to make too much impact on them. Like, they have a really nice 1-2 punch now with Snell and Logan Webb, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
but I think they're still going to be competing for second or third place in the division with either the Diamondbacks or the Padres.
Third.
So I don't really think this is going to affect the Dodgers too much.
My biggest take coming out of the signing of Snell is that this is now officially the most stacked division in baseball, even with the Rockies kind of dragging them down at the back end. But even then, might win a game or two against some of these teams. What do you guys think? Does this make the NL West the most watchable division in baseball unequivocally? I'll ask Robben first.
I would say yes, just because, I mean, every game with the Dodgers and Padres, at least that I've watched on TV, has been nothing but good baseball.
Yeah, it's must-see
And
TV.
usually must-see TV, even when the Dodgers play the Giants, vice versa, when the Giants play the Padres. But now that the Diamondbacks are even doing even better, it's definitely a good division to watch.
Oh, it's exciting stuff. Absolutely. Those Diamondbacks are scary. And Dillon, what do you think?
I think it's the best division in baseball for sure. I mean, Diamondbacks have a lot of young talent. They're going to be good for a while, I think. I think if the Padres get it together, they'll compete. And then the fucking Giants, they have a nice young squad too, so they just got to develop their players, and that division will be hard to beat for a while, I think.
Oh, it's definitely a stiff division, and I'm super stoked to see which team comes out on top. For fun, I am predicting the Diamondbacks, and you guys can definitely pan that as we go on, but the reality is it's going to be one of the most watchable races down the stretch. And Dan, what do you think, man? I mean, what does this do to the division? Has it made it any more interesting to pick your division winner?
No, it's still the Dodgers as far as division winner, but it makes the division a lot more interesting. And I mean, I was definitely surprised and impressed. I think we were surprised that they were active at all at this point. We talked about how the organization felt like they should have taken another step to compete in this division, and now they have. I kind of question a lot of narrative I've seen. I don't know about you guys. I'd be curious the take of our guest today. Seen a lot of takes in the media that the Giants now have the best rotation in the NL West, and I that really surprised me to see that just with this acquisition. For sure, the top two starters are pretty high quality, but I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Let's start with Dillon.
I wouldn't say it's the best rotation. I mean, Dodgers have Glass now. They have Kershaw when he's healthy. He can easily get you 10 strikeouts, no runs. Once Buehler comes back, Dustin May, Gonsolin, I think our rotation is still better. But if we're going off of right now, because our rotation isn't at full strength, I would say yes, the Giants do have a better rotation right now. But once the Dodgers get healthy, we will have the best rotation in all of baseball.
Oh wow, you got a Mariner here that'll probably debate that with you. But what do you think, Robben? How does it stack up against your rotation, which I think could also rival best?
Yeah, a couple of things. I would hope it's the best rotation in baseball. You guys paid a bunch of money for it. A couple of things about San Francisco's rotation. They lost a couple key players last year. DeScalfani, I can never pronounce that last name.
Yeah.
Alex Wood, Jacob Junis, to name a few. I really had to look up who else was on their rotation other than Blake Snell and Logan Webb. So to say that they have the best rotation in the NL West is kind of sad. Yeah, I do agree with Dillon. I do think the Dodgers have the best rotation in all of baseball, especially when healthy. But I do believe the Padres have the second best rotation in the NL West, especially with our pickup in Dylan Cease, Michael King. I think that helps the starting rotation very much so. Doesn't replace Snell, but it helps.
Now I feel like we have to throw it to the Mariner fan. We just had two Warren, we just had two guests, two fans tell us that the Dodgers have the best rotation, not in their division, in baseball, which I have some feelings about that, but I need to ask what the AL West fan thinks about that.
Well, sure thing. And I know that the Mariners are getting a lot of love right now. It's one of the few things we get love about for our starting rotation. But the truth is as much as I believe in my top three, Castillo, Gilbert, and Kirby, Bryce Miller and Brian Wu are still pretty unproven. So I know that Bryce Miller added some new pitches to make him more interesting this year, but I think I'm worried about Brian Wu being a little too predictable. He will need to step forward in certain ways in order for us to really feel as confident in him as I want us to feel. However, I do honestly know that as soon as health is no longer a factor, the Dodgers rotation is legendary. They've got arms to give away, and I know we've talked about that in past discussions. So I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I'm not afraid of what they can do. I just feel as if I'm grateful that they represent different leagues. We have a long path before we have to try to get past a Dodgers lineup, or rotation, I should say. And I'm grateful for that because the Mariners will be in the AL doing their thing, hoping that we really get to go best versus best. Not that, hey, there's some serious rotations out there across the other divisions too, but I'm not trying to beat a dead horse. Right now, I concede. The Dodgers, if health was not a factor, are easily heads and shoulders above the rest of the league right now. So, good for y'all. Way to pay for it.
Hey, big market squad.
That's right. It's a strategy for a reason. But I will also say that the Giants rotation, I echo your sentiments, Robben. I do feel as if when you have to look up the rotation and remind yourself of who else is behind Webb and Snell, you're not necessarily arguing this to be the best rotation in the division. I still do believe the Padres and the Diamondbacks are going to battle it out, to determine the second best rotation in that division. There's a lot of real closeness between those two teams.
I'd agree with you.
But I do love seeing the Padres set themselves up to be one of those teams who allows their starting rotation to give them a puncher's chance against any opponent when you have the offensive pieces they have. And I cannot wait to talk about how excited you are about those offensive pieces after the explosion we saw in Game 2 of the Seoul Series, which, by the way, guys, is kind of our focus today. We've gotten through the Snell setups, right?
Hang on, Warren. Real quick before we move on. We didn't get an answer to the question, how much do you think Snell hates you personally, each of you? Let's start with Robben, because you were a Padre fan. I know you loved Blake Snell. What do you think?
You know, he actually personally sent me a DM and he said, Robben, I'm really sorry I have to join this Giants team, but they just paid me a lot of money.
He apologized.
Yeah, I just had to read it to you right now.
What a guy.
He said love Pookie afterwards.
So that's definitely him then.
What a class act.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
He snelled into your DMs.
Yep.
And Dillon?
He definitely hates the Dodgers.
Okay.
Yeah, he hasn't stopped there yet, right?
Yeah. He wants to keep playing y'all.
He can't stand the fucking Dodgers, so I don't blame him for staying in the division.
He wants to keep playing y'all for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a gamer.
I will say I didn't think he was going to sign with San Francisco. I thought he was going to sign with the Mariners.
So did I. I thought he was going back home.
Yeah, and so we all thought that, and I remember talking about it to Warren earlier, and I want you to talk on it, Warren. But I remember you, while wanting it, were pretty comfortable in saying it probably wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, whether I like it or not. The thing is that the Mariners organization's a little bit different in that they're only trying to win 54% of their games. I don't know if you've heard this. Because they don't want the fan base to get so overexcited about expectations like a lot of these other teams are doing. Texas has that because they spent so much money. The Dodgers have that because they have so much money. Hell, everybody in the NL West outside of Colorado is feeling that way. Everybody's got pressure on them. The Braves, the Phillies, etc., etc. The Yankees. Like, there's all these teams that put the capital in to pay for a real belief that they're going to be the winners. So the Mariners are the team that's like, hey man, be grateful we're flying under the radar. be grateful we're just taking our time contending. Our window is wide open, and it's a very, I don't know, pretentious way to go about trying to build a contender, and I recognize that. But the truth is in their mind, they're doing us a favor, and it's a terrible way to word it. That whole 54% garbage is awful, but that's literally what they're trying to do, is sneak their way in every year. Even though, truthfully, I think Jerry Dipoto and the rest of our front office did an amazing job making lemonade out of lemons with the budget that our friend and owner Stanton, John Stanton, limited us to this offseason. He was never going to pay, $270 million for an arm. That's just not what we do. We build through draft and development and trade. That is what we call it. It is DDT, draft, development, and trade. And that is not going to include signing a multi-$100 million pitcher. Sadly, even if the guy wants to come play for us. Now, at the price he eventually paid, you would think, hey, was that something Seattle would do? And I will tell you, it would have taken an extreme, emergency situation for us to have very little faith in the arms we already have. And the truth is this organization is too high on their own perfume or cologne or whatever you want to call it.
Supply.
Right. They're high on their own supply enough to believe Wu, Miller, and Emerson Hancock in the background, if we get an injury or some sort of slow start, they're high enough to believe that that's all they need, and they're not willing to shell out the money to prove themselves wrong. So it was never going to happen. Even at the price he paid, it was never going to happen. We didn't have $31 million or whatever in the budget. So I'm
the Giants told J.D. Davis that they also didn't have that. And, look what we found in the couch.
I do want to say something about that. If you don't mind me pointing this out, it's really hard to root for the Giants with all of the steps they've taken to compile this team, even with them looking like a fringe contender for a wild card spot. They don't look like an organization I would want to play for in a city that others have said they don't want to play for. I wonder if you guys feel the Giants are actually making a net mistake in the reputation they have with other teams. And then I swear, we got to move on. We got to talk about Seoul, guys. Robben, what do you think? Is the organization in San Francisco a little bit, rude and a little bit nasty to do what they did to J.D. Davis? And
keeping in mind that the J.D. Davis thing and what they also did to Brandon Crawford in the offseason, who was willing to take a pay cut.
Yeah, I don't know what goes on in that organization, to be honest. They don't sit right with me at all. That's why I have such a strong feeling about Snell going there. Like literally any other team, I would have been totally fine if he joined the Dodgers. I'm going to be so real.
Whoa.
Any other team.
Well, I guess it's team. Screw the Giants. Over in Diego land for our analysts. What about you, Dillon? What do you think of the Giants as an organization? Do they read as a high ethic camp? Because it's hard to argue they are.
No, I mean, what they did to J.D. Davis was pretty fucked up. And Brandon Crawford, like you guys said, was willing to take a pick, and they're like, nah, like we don't want you anymore. Mm-hmm. So I don't really know what the front office is thinking when they do stuff like that. I think Brandon Crawford has been. Yeah, Brandon Crawford's been a piece of that team for how many years now? He's won, 2 World Series with them?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a little messed up for the fans to do Brandon Crawford like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what's going on with the Giants, man.
There's something real punch drunk about the way they're making their decisions, and they're kind of spinning their heads in circles and really kind of improvising on the fly, and it's not a good look. It's like, where's your long-term plan? Where's your long-term structure? Where's your long-term understanding and respect for the players you're putting on the field? I don't blame you guys. It's a bad look. So I guess we might all root against the Giants, and I know. Next time I pick up an MLB The Show, I may not have them as one of my 12 pet teams. I just love Oracle Field, guys. Can we agree Oracle Field might be the prettiest ballpark in the league?
It is a beautiful park.
Camden Yards is the most
fans
beautiful.
in boats Like, come on, that's the best.
Oracle is dope. It's dope. It's top 2, but it's 2.
I gotta say, it's maybe second to PNC Park, right? In my mind, as a place I want to see a game. I would love to see PNC Park with the Pittsburgh skyline in the background, but we're getting so far ahead of ourselves when we have not one, but 2 elephants in the room to discuss. We would be irresponsible as baseball fans to not at least highlight the entire Shohei Ohtani saga that's going on as we speak today. We had a little bit of a chat before this talk, guys, and I think we all agree. We're excited to chat baseball with each other, and there's no reason why we need to not focus on this Seoul Series today while there's so much still emerging about the Ohtani controversy. So why don't we try to meet up in a week or two once all of this has been clarified as what's happening, and we could talk about that exact saga in a few weeks. So those looking for that content, I hope we all agree we can take a rain check until we know more, right?
I'm all for that.
Of course you are.
What a great elephant. We'll bypass that. We'll never forget, though. We'll never forget. We'll be back to chat on that in a couple of weeks. But guys, the Seoul Series has happened, and it was everything that we wanted it to be. Wouldn't you agree? Wasn't it fun to watch regular season baseball kick off overseas? Talk about maybe the vibes you had taking in these 2 games. I'll ask first. The guy who won game 1, vibes were a little tentative, I would say. There was a bomb threat against Ohtani circulating in Seoul, right? So everybody looked a little nervous to me. Dillon, what do you think of game 1 as the season kicked off in Seoul? The Padres and the Dodgers at last tussled. What do you say?
I didn't get to watch the whole game, but I watched some highlights, and I mean, the one highlight for the Dodgers was really Gavin Lux's ball going through Cronenworth's glove.
Yes.
That won us the game right there. If that doesn't happen, we probably lose. Probably lose that game. Glasnow looked okay. I mean, he gave up 3 runs, gave up 2. I'm sorry. He didn't look terrible. I'm sure he'll get it together. It's his first start with the Dodgers, so I'm sure he'll get it together. The bats didn't look as great as I wanted them to look in the first game, but I think maybe the jet lag has something to do with that. Who knows? But I'm just glad they won the first game.
That's all it needed, right? You want to put the right, exclamation point on the first game of the season, and it did look like they were the ones that got more comfortable first. I remember Glasnow throwing a ton of pitches in front of home plate, looking just really tight and not loose. I think everybody on the field looked that way to me. Am I the only one who felt that way?
No, I think you're right. I saw that in the second game too.
Yeah, he was definitely still feeling it out, it seems like.
Yeah, I would say so. What'd you think of game 1 there, Robben? As a Padres fan, it didn't turn out your way, and there was a lot of stop-go to the offensive flow for both teams. Did you have any fun takes to take away from that first one, even if you had to come up on the L?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that it was a terrible game from the Padres. I mean, we had the lead all the way up until that ball going through the glove.
Yeah.
Either equipment manager needs to fix it, or Cronenworth just needs a new glove. That was that can't happen, especially in a game like that where we play a rival to open up the season. But fun takeaways. Darvish somehow didn't look 37 to me. Despite going only 3 2/3 of an inning, I feel like he could have stretched that out to maybe 5. He looked decent to me, despite giving up a run or 2, I believe.
Didn't give up any.
That's right, he didn't. Well, I think he might have had 1.
Yeah, it was 1 credited against him.
Yeah, 1 was credited,
but not an earned run.
Yeah, still, I would have liked to see him go a little longer. Bullpen needs work. We are not going to beat a team like the Dodgers using 7 or 8 pitchers a game. That's just not going to happen. It's also not going to happen when we only get 4 hits against a team like that Dodgers team. That is we need to be getting at least 7 or 8.
One guy.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah, we need to be at least stringing together 7 or 8 hits if we want to at least scare them. At least give them a reason to have their backs against the wall to where they could make a mistake and we can make that jump on them. So Dan Hughes brought it up. Guy had 2 of those hits. I really hope he stays hot. He had a really, really rough season last year, Xander Bogaerts. Really rough debut season for the Padres, so I really hope it's a good sophomore season for him. Clearly not his sophomore season. He's been in the league for, 12 years now? But still. And another good takeaway from that game 1, Jackson Merrill, despite going 0 for 3, there was a couple. He had 6 balls for contact, exit velo of 100 on each of them. So, despite going 0 for 3, the kid can hit. So if he can just get that ball in play and get on base, I feel like he's going to be a great addition to this team.
I gotta jump in and say I agree. If there's one thing I'm encouraged by, it's that San Diego, who I picked to be a wild card out of the NL, by the way, and I think I'm sticking to it. San Diego has the pitching and the offense to win the games they need to win on paper, and they really, you needed to see guys like Merrill, who's coming in as a rookie to prove that he's ready to be at this level, but also you needed Campusano to do some stuff. I think he's another young piece that needs to prove he's not in and over his head in this lineup. And while we didn't see that in game 1, as we transition to game 2, I know he stood out to me, did Campusano.
Yes.
But Merrill does look like a full major leaguer, and that's going to help your team tremendously as they try to stay alive in one of baseball's scariest divisions, if not the, as we talked about earlier. Dan, what was your take on game 1, just to make sure I leave no stone unturned? What did you take away that maybe the others haven't picked at yet?
Well, a lot of good points all around. I would say the Dodgers were there earlier. I believe they played against a couple games against Team Korea, so it wasn't too surprising to see a few more guys popping off right away compared to San Diego. And yeah, Dillon mentioned like just the whole environment and everything around there. And Warren, you alluded to the stuff before the game. A lot of pressure. Just so not surprising if a couple of guys were holding on a little bit tighter than they should have been.
Right.
But I'd like to talk a little bit more about the glove because that was insane. Both the guys mentioned that it was a pivotal key play, and it totally was. And Robben, I have a question for you. What do you think? I don't actually know. What do you think? Like, is this a glove that you think he went out there like it was his own glove? Maybe he used it before, or is it a glove that was provided for him by the equipment manager? Because either way, somebody looked at that glove and said, "Oh, this is fine," and went out in a major league game. And like you said, that can't happen. It cannot happen. It's someone's job to check that sort of thing.
And that ball was not smoked either. That was a routine ground ball. It had a little bit of heat on it. The spin on it was a little crazy. Yeah, Dan, somebody did have to look at that and say, yeah, we could play with this. But my thing is, that was Cronenworth too. He went out there. You know how before the game, or while the pitcher's warming up, the first baseman will throw the ball to the infielders. They'll throw it back to him. So obviously, that was all okay. But this ground ball wasn't? Of course it wasn't, because it's the baseball gods giving everything to the Dodgers in the regular season. So that's why.
Just to take it all the way in the postseason.
But here's an interesting thought that I had when you asked if somebody gave it to him. Maybe it was Ohtani's interpreter that gave it to him.
Shut the fuck up.
Covering for Ohtani.
Hey, listen, the controversy waits. We agreed. What are you doing? Our entire show structure. No.
Oh, no. I'm melting.
Right. Hey, when the equipment is the factor in a win or loss, it is the worst.
That sparks the rally, though. It's the thing is with these Dodgers and Padres games, it's a small little thing like that sparks the rallies.
Always.
Always, always, always.
It's been like that the last couple of years. Like
super unfortunate. that it was just a little ground ball like that started this rally, but it was still a good game in my eyes.
Yeah, hotly contested. It was again a bit messy, everybody on edge a little bit. Bomb threats are a thing. I mean, that's something that would definitely keep me distracted, especially when both teams are already not feeling the benefit of at home for this series. Everybody overseas not used to anything but the fact that that crowd cheered for every hit that they saw. You got to give it up for the Seoul audience who thought every fly ball was something to marvel at. It's fun to see different cultures celebrate the game in different ways. But yeah, Darvish, on your point, Robben, I have to say he's more respected than I ever expected him to be at this stage of his career, and I do think he could have gone longer in that game. I saw a big note from you. Let's see, as we enter into our second game here, does anyone have something they want to say about game one that we haven't already covered? Because I feel pretty ready to
We should say
turn
that
the page.
the venue was cool. I don't know about you guys though,
Oh
but
my god, yeah,
the
that
music
field is incredible.
but the music playing during the game was driving me crazy. Hated it.
What do you guys think? Did that detract from the atmosphere for you all? I mean, it seemed like it was weird for the players too.
Yeah, it's a little different. I wouldn't know if it drove me crazy, but it was definitely it was different.
I
Dill,
didn't
you were
mind it. It was a different vibe. So it's overseas. They do things a little different over there. So
Quick little thing. Did you guys see that they had a bring your own meat hot pot area?
did they
No.
really?
What?
Yes, dude, that's insane. At the field.
Aw, a potluck.
It's
Wait.
awesome.
We gotta go to
Like,
Korea.
bring your own hot pot.
No, it had the hot pot. They had all the hot pot stuff. You just had to bring your own meat.
Right.
Oh,
A hot
so
pot
they had a,
potluck.
Hot
so
potluck.
they're looking for bombs as people are walking in, but they're like, no, bring in your 20 pounds
No,
of raw meat. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is just my 20 pounds of thinly sliced brisket. What do you mean?
At least sashimi.
What? As much as the glove played the factor in your minds about the game, I'm going to be real. I think it was the Padres bullpen that was the reason why.
I would also agree with you on that.
Peralta,
Like I said, we can't
Bre-
win a game using 8 pitchers.
yeah. Between Peralta, Brito, and Morajan, the three who gave up runs that would be the deciding factor. Of the three, which ones do you still have the most faith in, if any, there, Robben? And are you concerned about all three after such a setup to the game?
I wouldn't say concerned. I guess maybe wary would be a good word. I wouldn't say that either of those guys are guys we want right now, at least holding a lead, or at least in like a 1-run game, maybe a 2-run game, maybe throw them in there, or not throw them in there, but like maybe like a 3-run lead is what I meant to say. But like, I guess takeaways from those three, my biggest faith would probably be in Warzone because he started out as a starter. They moved him to relief in AAA, and he was doing pretty decent. So, and once they brought him up, he's been doing all right. So I hope this game was just a fluke.
Gotta hope so. Right. You need your bullpen to be stiffer, and for all three of them to give up an earned run is suspect. And I'm wishing you luck in getting that stability because it's a tough division for it.
Yeah. Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, 100%. You gotta stiffen that upper lip. It can't just be about the starting rotation. But
right.
Let's see. Josh Hader also getting signed away from your team. Isn't there something to comment on that?
I mean, I have mixed feelings on him. I read a bunch of different articles saying that like he really did not want to go in a bunch of the times when Melvin would try and call him out. He would literally be like, "Nah, we don't have the lead, or we don't have a big enough lead. I don't want to pitch." Type situation. So that kind of ego in my mind, good riddance. It's a team game.
That makes me think about how him going to Houston and having Presley as his second arm, right? Like, we've talked about how
Of
ego
course.
needs to be checked for that to be successful for Houston, and I'm beginning to wonder if that really is something they can expect. Like, not just as a Mariners fan who wishes ill on Houston at all times, truthfully listening to chemistry there,
Should
that
be as
could
a
be a real
baseball
problem.
fan.
Let's go.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
honestly.
Gents, I think game 1 is in the books. I can't think of too much more that we really want to dissect. And it was much more exciting to watch game 2 when you can feel, in my personal opinion, the tension, especially around the batters, really dissipate. This was a really interesting matchup, of course. Musgrove versus Yamamoto. Here's the multi-million-dollar, highest-paid international pitcher signed straight out of the gate in the history of Major League Baseball, going up against one of the pitchers who've been one of the few to pitch a no-no, right, for the Padres, maybe the only one, if I remember
only
correctly.
one to pitch a no-no.
So this is a extremely important matchup, and it didn't disappoint. I mean, unless, of course, you're Dillon, because Yamamoto had the rough start that some of us could have expected, and some of us couldn't have. Let's talk about this and start, I guess, around Yamamoto. Dan, I know you were kind of excited to watch this guy pitch in a major league game for the first time. What were your expectations? Yes, I'm asking you first, and then we'll turn it to Dill.
I gotta say, Warren, you're the one that really expected him to struggle. I knew it wouldn't be a great game, but I did not expect him to not make it out of one inning. So,
right.
I mean, what can you say if you actually, look at that? There were definitely nerves there, definitely a couple wild pitches. His location wasn't, I'm sure, where we'll see it after he gets zoned in and focused after they get back home. Probably hit him a little bit harder than it hit some of the other guys.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, major league at-bats for the first time in his career. It's still hard to judge. I mean, overall, not very good against several different types of batters, too. And I think at least one lefty. So kind of concerning. Definitely need to not jump to any conclusions. Let him get settled in back at home, have a couple starts. Then we can make some judgments. It's a rough start, though, gotta say.
Yes, and to touch on this before we turn it up to the participants of the series, I did expect Yamamoto to struggle a bit because in a spring training start just days before, I'm sure you noticed this too, Dillon, the Mariners touched up Yamamoto quite a bit. And after the first couple of innings, got him uncomfortable and then got enough runs around the bases to see him out of the game, which is what every team would intend to do. That was a bit of a blueprint that maybe the Padres were able to take advantage of, but at the same time, you look at that first pitch that he threw that was so easy for leadoff man. Help me, guys. Who was our leadoff man that day? Sorry, game 2. He whacked it right into center field, and it was right down the middle, essentially. And there was a lot of that we were seeing, either wild or right down the middle. Dill, how do you feel, man? Did the Mariners just kind of telegraph how to bat around for the Padres, or was it just him not looking his best, period? What are your thoughts?
He didn't look his best. I don't know if you guys watched the game, but every time they panned to his face, he looked scared. Like Yamamoto, his eyes, he looked like he was a deer in headlights. Mm-hmm. And I just knew it wasn't going to be good. I figured he probably would make it out the first inning, but I didn't think he would give up 5 damn runs. Like his control was a really big issue. He didn't really have a lot of speed on his fastball. Mm-hmm. And he was just wild. He was just all over the place. Couldn't find the zone at all. I think he threw 30. I think half his pitches were balls. I want to say. Mm-hmm. I don't think he threw too many strikes. Mm-hmm. And like you guys said, it's his first start, which I expected him to struggle, but I didn't think he was going to have an ERA of freaking 45. Did not think that. Yeah, it was not the start that I wanted, but I wouldn't say it was expected, but
it was expected.
Not 5 runs in the first inning though. Sure. Yeah. I figured maybe he would give up 2 or 3 in 3 innings total, but I going one inning was not what I expected at all.
And even the outs, I mean, 2 of the outs were strikeouts. So a lot of those balls were just in play and not a lot that the defense could do about it. Not the kind of hits you want to see him give up.
So let's go ahead and give him his flowers. Robben, how did it feel watching your lineup hone? PWN. Straight up, Yamamoto in his first Major League Baseball start.
Straight pwned. It's kind of rough for Yamamoto's first start when 3 of the first 4 batters go by the name of Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr., and Xander Bogaerts.
Yeah.
Those are 3 really tough pats.
Thank you. It was.
Yes, Xander opened up the bats. Yeah,
and he looked great this weekend.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. I'm telling you, I already said it, but I really hope he keeps it up. But
I think he's hitting 500.
Yeah, like I said, it's a really tough opening to Major League Baseball, like regular season. If we're gonna be completely honest, Yamamoto was pretty wild. He did hit Tatis, and then after that, it was kind of just. Kind of down the rails for him. But the Padres, man, it was pretty nice. Only 3 of our batters didn't get hits, and one of them was a pinch hitter. So it was the bats woke up. The bats surely woke up. Capisano looked really good with 3 hits. Cronenworth went 4 for 4. I mean, it's hard not to like that guy, even though he did have that ball go through his glove.
No, but he went 4 for 4, and he had the right glove for game 2.
Yes,
so good on
yes,
him.
he had the right glove on. But yeah, game 2, I don't know about you guys. I was not expecting a 15-11 final score. But yeah, Musgrove looked abysmal. To say the least, that was not what I was expecting from Joe Musgrove, giving up 7 hits, 5 earned runs, and not even 3 innings. But Michael King looked good, despite giving up absolute moonshot to one of the greatest players of our generation, Mookie Betts. I have to give that man his flowers.
You mean the MVP of this year?
Relax.
Whoa, anyways. Going straight for that jugular.
He's been looking good. Shortstop has brought him back to his 28 season.
If there's anybody that can make that seamless transition to play shortstop all year, it's Mookie.
Oh yeah,
and that's coming from a Padres fan. Anyways, but yeah, Michael King looked good despite giving up that home run. I was not worried about that pickup, but I did not think. I was hoping we'd get a different arm in that Soto trade, but that's all I'll say about that part. But he looked really good.
Yeah, I
really
would like
really good game too.
I like Michael King for your Padres. I think that's going to be a piece that
it's growing on me. That was a really good showing from him. And if he's going to give up a home run to anybody, I'd want it to be Mookie.
Just for fun, I'll slide something in there that I know I'd want to hear you speak on, Dillon, because as hot as Mookie looked, Max Muncy, especially defensively, seemed to frustrate the Dodgers and you especially. Tell us a little bit about how it felt watching him have a rough time at the hot corner.
I don't know why he's in the hot corner. I really don't. They need to flip him and Freddie or something, because that was where Muncy played his best, was at first base. And I feel like Freddie could probably play third base, but they either make a trade for a third baseman and cut Muncy's playing time in half by putting him at DH sometimes, but it's kind of hard to do that when you have Ohtani when he wants to be everyday DH.
Yep, we talked about that.
And he's not pitching this year.
Yeah, exactly. So I think they should they need to find someone else to play third base, because Muncy is not the answer. He committed 2 errors that I think he was responsible for 3 or 4 runs. Those 2 errors he committed.
Yeah.
So they need to get him out the hot corner. He's not the guy for third base. Get Justin Turner back.
What about Lux, Dylan? Could you put Muncy at second? Would you even trust him there?
Lux is small.
Yeah, Lux is really small for third base. I really think they should go get fucking Justin Turner back. Sorry for my language.
It's okay. We understand the passion. I gotta ask, there's still Gene Segura and Evan Longoria, maybe the two biggest third baseman names out there on the free agency. Any part
Ooh,
of you
Evan
think?
Longoria.
I would love Evan Longoria.
That's a name right there.
Really? How old
Former
is he now?
Giant.
38, I think.
Yeah, he's
He
up there.
is.
He's Joey
He's
Votto age.
old.
But could be an answer in if Muncy continues to struggle. But I love the idea of flipping Freddie and Muncy because I think you're right. I think Freddie Freeman, I don't know how much experience he has playing third base, so please educate me if I'm missing something. But he's athletic enough to catch those balls that, yeah, the smaller guys who might fill that position would
Freddie never
struggle
played
with.
third. Freddie never
Yeah,
played
no,
third in
Freddie's
Atlanta, I
never
can tell
played
you
third, but
that.
I think he could.
Yeah, the window's passed then for them to introduce that to him this year, probably. They would have wanted to have recognize Muncy's struggles maybe and have him try it out during spring training. But, it is what it would be. Let's flip it over. I mean, you talked about how Cronenworth brought a good bat to game 2 there, Robben. Talk about other role players offensively who stood out to you. As I said, Campusano was one for me. Do you
Yeah.
have some insights to share on that side of the stick?
Yeah, Campusano looked really good. He had 3 hits,
Yep.
two ribbies.
Mm-hmm.
Can't ask for any more out of that. And also, I mean, I think he's going to be our full-time DH this year. Mr. Manny Machado had a 3-run blast to kind of seal the deal in the later innings. That was a very nice sight to see.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Tatis also had 2 hits. Throw him up there. Hits are
Yes.
hits.
The recovery from ringworm continues.
Yes, it sure
The
does.
ringworm
And
redemption arc. I'm here for it.
it's going to be a good redemption arc. I think he's going to get everybody back on his side again.
What do you think about him playing right field?
I mean, he got a platinum glove last year. You tell me.
Well, I just say because you have Jackson Merrill now in center field, so you might be asking a little bit more from Tatis to cover a little bit more,
Maybe we'll see. If they wanted him to cover a bit more, I feel like they would have thrown him in center. So I think they have a lot of faith in Jackson Merrill, which I think they should. I think Jackson Merrill is a really good player. He had 2 hits as well. I mean, it's hard not to say good things. It's hard not to say good things about him. I don't think he had too many hard plays out in center against the Dodgers, but it'll be nice to see what kind of range he has, especially playing in fields like, let's say, Chase Field, Coors Field, those areas that have really, really big center fields. Like it'd be really nice to see how he plays, maybe a gap ball or a nice little one hopper. See if he digs it in there. See if he makes that diving catch. But I do like Tatis and right. I feel like he stays there.
Speaking of diving catches and defensive prowess, I want to point out that one of the big reasons why San Diego felt good about themselves at all last season, that be Ha-Seong Kim, struggled a lot in this series. Now, he's pretty important. He's pretty important for the team to have their momentum throughout the rest of the
shortstop
season. Yeah, how do you feel about Kim's performance? Are you worried at all, or do you expect him to bounce back and get going pretty soon?
I'm not worried. We also had a couple of games against the like a couple of Korean baseball league teams, and he had a couple hits, including a home run in those games. So, I mean, his bat's still awake. Like I mean, we played the Dodgers. It's not every one of our bats are going to be awake against a team like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just happy the bats that were awake were awake. You know what I mean? So. It's nice to see. It's nice to see that this lineup can still rely on each other.
Mm-hmm.
Something that we didn't really do last season. So it's nice to see that we're doing that in the beginning of the season.
Hey, in a world where Kim struggles, it's really encouraging to see guys like Campusano and Tyler Wade is another name we didn't talk about much, but he got 2 hits in that game yesterday.
And I think he had 2 in the game 1 as well.
You want the players who no one's thinking would be producing for this lineup doing just that. So you can
Exactly.
feel encouraged. The offense is better than I think we may have anticipated, right, Dan? So that'll be exciting to see how it progresses for sure. But one more for Dillon, since I'm just kind of bouncing back and forth, giving some personal questions. Hey, bud, how do you feel about Teoscar Hernandez's ability to stay relevant at the plate in this series? I think he got a hit and a couple of extra strikeouts there. I think 4 in 2 games. I hope you're excited about that signing. It's exactly what I would have expected as a Mariner fan.
He's on pace.
How you feeling, buddy?
I mean, I was excited for it, but he hasn't looked the best. I'll be honest.
Right?
He's batting 125. He got no hits the last game. I'm hoping he gets it together. I'm hoping he can hit at least 30 bombs for us. That, like, I'll take 260, 270.
Oh, I bet you would.
But it ain't looking great so far. But I'm hoping he gets it together.
He's looking like 240, 14 home runs right now, Cuzzo.
And like 200 strikeouts.
Buckle
It ain't
up,
looking
my
great.
friend. Hey, I kept watching him play baseball, praying for him to take his at-bats a little bit more seriously. And I don't know if you've caught discussions I've had with Dan in the past where I literally feel like his desire to swing at everything was negatively impacting the rest of the Mariners lineup last year. So good luck in finding a little bit of discipline out of him, because I don't know if you're going to see it. And while you will get productivity in, I would say, spurts, I'm kind of dreading that you're going to see more consistent, errant swings like what he was giving you this weekend. Beware and good luck.
Yeah, pretty
I
sure
will say
Warren called
though the Dodgers are pretty good at getting the best out of their players. Their only fail was Syndergaard last year. But
And he
I
busted when he went to what did he go after that, Cleveland or whatever.
It was
he
awful, dude.
Talk about a guy. Sorry, I have to cut in on Syndergaard. Talk about a guy who honestly threw the shit out of his arm for the first 5 years of his career. Like flamethrower, 110, 111. Well, yeah, right? I mean, not for nothing, but
for nothing.
Couldn't get him the big contract that he wanted, and by that point it was too late. And then he couldn't innovate his pitch mix after that. Tried with the Dodgers, tried with LA, and I think a couple other teams. Really sad to see, but
yeah, I'm not. Though I think I'm the only one here who has not had Syndergaard on their roster at some point. No, Robben, I don't think the Padres.
No, we've never had him.
I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I expect Syndergaard to be part of the league a whole lot longer. It's too bad, but it does seem like, after the injuries he's suffered and the various, journeyman type of pathways he's taken, it's only a matter of time before teams stop, giving him chances. Wouldn't you think? To anyone who wants to answer.
Is he even on a team right now?
Exactly.
No. Yeah. Hey, Warren, if you don't mind, I got a question to throw out there.
I'm excited.
So, Dillon, Dodgers offense looked really good. Obviously, a lot of excitement around Ohtani, and he did look pretty good. But between, that three-headed monster, Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, who's looking the best to you so far, and who do you think can keep the pace up for the year?
Oh, Mookie for sure. Mookie looked great first 2 games. I think, like I said, I think Mookie's going to win MVP.
Mm-hmm.
He's my pick to win MVP this year. I think the Dodgers will probably have Mookie and Ohtani finish top 3 in MVP voting.
Crazy.
But Mookie for sure is looking the best. He's looked the best in spring training, and he's looked the best to start the season. So I think he's going to be a big part of the team, a big factor. And as long as he just doesn't do what he did last October, I think they'll be okay.
Boom.
Yeah.
Hey, what about you, Robben? I mean, any of these guys on the Padres lineup you think might challenge a Mookie Betts for an MVP race? I mean,
Tatis.
Tatis 100%. He's
Rebound.
Really?
yeah, he's due for a rebound year. He only batted like 256 last year. Not low power numbers, but I mean,
Well, for
that
him.
just wasn't the Tatis that we know. Yeah, even before he got caught up with his little ringworm thing, that was not the Tatis that we were seeing. So I think he's due for a little bit of a bounce back year. Same thing with Xander Bogaerts. I really hope. I don't know about an MVP type season from him, but we have seen that type of bat from Xander Bogaerts. So he showed that in Seoul. He showed that in Boston when he was there. But I really hope that he shows that in San Diego in his second season in San Diego. And then it's hard not to say a guy like Manny. I mean, his bat has gone nowhere. He's still consistently one of the best bats in the game. It's hard not to say it, but he is super consistent. But yeah, and then Ha-Seong Kim as well. I'm really hoping for a huge year from him. Especially, I'm hoping he rides the high of this Gold Glove. I hope we see some really nice plays out there. Hope we see some bombs, some nice stolen bases. But yeah, that kid can do it all, and I hope he does this year.
Yes, and if he doesn't, I think the Padres would expect him to be one of the pieces they might move if the stock doesn't continue to climb.
Unfortunately,
yeah.
I wouldn't want to move him, but if I were to pick anybody to move, it'd be Cronenworth. But if we're gonna have to move somebody, it's probably gonna have to be Kim. He's got a lot of value right now.
The good news is that I think the front office for San Diego is putting a lot of stock into their potential this year. So you've got a long way to go before they lose the faith enough to start selling.
I'll start waiting until the trade deadline.
Ooh, and that's as many of us are, right? Dan's got a fringe contender. I got a fringe contender. You know, the only one in this room who doesn't need to sweat come the deadline is Dillon. So the rest of us are watching each other's pieces pretty closely. Are there any pieces, Robben, on that note, you would be excited to try to grab from the teams in the room right now? Would you want a Dodger? Would you want a Mariner? Would you want a Met? Or is there anybody else in the league you're eyeing in case San Diego needs to start selling some of their current assets for future ones?
I mean, on the untouchables list, I'd love to have, guys like J-Rod. I'd love to have Luis Castillo from the Mariners, to name a couple Mets. I'd love to have Brandon Nimmo with Edwin Diaz for a bullpen pitcher. And then I've already mentioned him a bunch of times because, I mean, we're talking about him, but I mean, Mookie, dude. How could I not want Mookie on my team?
Amen.
And then obviously Ohtani, the freaking unicorn that he is. So, I mean, yeah. As far as like, I don't know who else is like a trade value piece that's out there. Do we know? That's not as on our teams. Do we know of anybody
dude? I'll give you Jeff McNeil for like a hot dog and $100,000.
I don't want McNeil. I said Nimmo. He could play anywhere.
Nah, you can't have Nimmo.
Well, let's think about teams that are close to blowing it up that are not blowing it up yet. Maybe
Milwaukee.
Yeah,
I was going to say Milwaukee. Yeah.
Maybe what's his name? I'm sorry, guys. Albies, right? Albies from that team could be a potential pickup at some point. Or Williams. Maybe. I know that you and I have talked about, Dan. Chicago White Sox are another team that can blow it up even more in my mind. I would love
Luis Robert.
Mm-hmm. Or Eloy Jimenez. Yeah, I think you snuck that in there, Dan. What about you? I think you're in an embarrassment of riches at this point, so it's probably just wasted air asking you anything about getting better, Dillon. But the Dodgers,
third baseman.
Right. Apart from signing somebody like Evan Longoria, which is a realistic path, right, and a realistic answer, do you have anything up your sleeve that you wish the Dodgers would do in these final hours before the rest of the season gets started?
I mean, outside of third base, not really. I don't really think there's any other weakness besides third base, and maybe just the infield in general outside of Mookie and Freddie. Lux really hasn't proven himself defensively yet.
Okay, there it is. I was like, wait, that leaves just Gavin Lux you're a little skeptical on.
Yeah, he hasn't really proven himself defensively, and his bat is kind of non-existent right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was really excited to see what he was going to do last year, but he went into his ACL, so had to wait on that. So we'll see how he plays after his injury. But I think just third baseman is our biggest question right now.
Cronenworth, too. He could play third.
I'll take him.
Give me Mookie.
Yeah, no.
So it sounds like we've kicked around the Seoul Series enough to be able to look at the bigger picture now, and I'd like to turn our attention to that, unless my buddy Dan Harrow's got pressing questions and should flag me down. I do want to say I put it in there, my pregame prediction for Game 2 was that Yamamoto would struggle, worse than Musgrove, who also struggled, that the San Diego bullpen would fail to emphatically shut the door, and that San Diego would earn that close win. And what can I say? I don't usually like to toot my own horn, but a toot, okay?
Yeah, you were pretty spot on with that one.
So let's talk about how you guys feel, because I want to hear your predictions for what this awesome outcome brings us. I mean, as a baseball fan who wanted to watch this division have some parity this year, I'm thrilled that we saw a split between these games. And as we look forward to the future, do we see this as a launch pad of momentum for San Diego? Do we see this as a blemish that we need to be concerned of for the Dodgers? Do we see this as a win-win for both? I'll ask you first, Dillon, how do you feel with this outcome for the series?
I mean, it wasn't what I expected. I'll be honest. I did want them to sweep the Padres just because I hate the Padres. But
Boom.
It was a very fun game to watch, to see them go back and forth. I mean, 26 total runs in a game. When was the last time that happened? I wouldn't necessarily call it a blemish on the Dodgers because it's just one game out of 162. So I wouldn't really say that it's nothing to worry about.
There you go. Do you still see this as the foregone conclusion of the Dodgers messing around and winning the division like last year, right?
Oh yeah.
Cool.
I think they're gonna win 112 games this year. I'll be honest.
I mean, it's kind of hard to argue it on paper, as I'm sure, all trying not to agree with in the back of our minds. What about you, Robben? This had to be really encouraging for you. So I'm wondering if you feel that way or if I'm missing the mark on how a Padre fan should feel at the moment.
I feel really good. I did. I didn't think we were going to score 15 runs. But yeah, I feel good that we split the series. I think you did touch on it. I think it does give us a little bit of momentum going into the season. I think we answered a couple of unanswered questions about a couple of bats, who's going to play where. I think we still have a couple of unanswered questions, bullpen being the main unanswered question. But yeah, I'm honestly ecstatic that we split the series. I'll take everything that we get this year with a grain of salt, honestly.
Wicked. And do you see yourself ending up in a wild card spot? Do you make a run at the division? Who else is in your way for that if you are wild card bound?
I think there are going to be 3 playoff teams coming out of the NL West. I think the NL is pretty tough, but only on the west side. I think we go 87 and 75, and I think we secure that wild card 2 spot, while the Diamondbacks secure the wild card 1, and the Dodgers win the division.
What would be your third wild card, just for fun? I think I know the answer, but I'm curious if you're going to swerve me.
Let's see here.
I know we're talking about the Central, which has almost no major contenders except for maybe a plucky Reds team, a veteran
I think
Cardinals
the Cubs
team.
win that one.
Whoa.
I think the Cubs win that division, and then Phillies, Braves. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Phillies, Braves. Well, that's the scary part, right? Okay, Cubs win the division, Phillies get in. Gotcha. There it is.
Yeah.
The Phillies are your third wild card, and that's kind of who I thought you would anticipate. Understood. What about you, Dillon? Just for fun, if you're putting out projections, obviously, Dillon, you're going to win the division in your mind. Who are your wild
Mhm.
cards you wish not to run into in postseason play if you had it your way?
Who? I don't want to play any of the NL West teams in the first round. I'll be honest.
There it is.
Good answer.
But I do think Robin's right with the D-backs and Padres. But my third pick for the wild card team, this is a kind of a wild pick, but I would say Cincinnati.
I've played with that. Yeah.
I think the Reds have a really solid young team, and I think if they keep it together, I think they can surprise a lot of people next year. Maybe win like 86, 87 games. But I know that's going to be kind of a tall task because they don't really have
you got them taking
that great of a pitching rotation.
Right.
So you haven't taken Philly's spot.
Yeah.
Wow.
But not by much, by like a game.
Well, and yeah, it's going to be a dogfight if that happens. But, Cincinnati's changing and really playing up to the meta right at the moment, really taking advantage of stolen bases is a big part of it. There's, despite the injury, still is some depth to this squad. And I know we've flirted, Dan and I, with putting Cincinnati in a place of prominence too. It's quite bold to think the Phillies are not more prepared, but I love that you give us a hot take. Dan, I guess I'll turn it to you just to make sure. Did this weekend's series do anything for you? Do you fear the Padres a little bit more? You had the Giants as a potential wild card squad as opposed to the Padres, which is my pick, to be honest. I got you, Robben. What's your thought, Dan?
Yeah, I totally would be happy if I was a Padres fan. Got a little bit more out of the offense than I would have expected. Definitely thought the Dodgers would win both games and would have been amazing for the Padres to win two, but to walk away with one win, they should absolutely be proud. Offense, I think, kind of looked like I expected in that they were pretty shut down relatively in the first game and then exploded in the second game. And that streakiness we've seen from a lot of those bats before, and that coupled with a weaker bullpen is part of the reason I had their win total a little bit lower. So I wouldn't say I'm surprised. I would put a lot of grain of salt on it being the first series, but I would be very happy with both offenses, especially San Diego coming out of this.
Hey, certainly lots of positivity to take away from that. For me, it read like a really traditional story of a team not getting off to the defensive start they wish to when Yamamoto gives up 5 runs. The Padres all of a sudden going, oh my God, we have everything we need to do to win this game, keep swinging. They just keep on running and adding runs to their total and getting as far ahead as they can so as to the point where the Dodgers can't catch. And like both teams really, really felt like they were loose, swinging the bat as often as they wanted to after that, cruddy start for Yamamoto. And it was just going to be a foot race. And it's good to know that in those situations, San Diego might win a foot race. Like, that's huge for them. They definitely look better offensively than I expected. We've basically discussed the Seoul Series to the point where now we want to kind of open it up to the bigger picture for both your teams, guys. And so we're going to go one by one, answer a few questions about each camp, and see how you feel. This first one is for our Dodgers fan, Mr. Rodriguez. Give us one thing the Padres do better than the Dodgers, okay? Just one thing. One friggin' thing, please.
Shit, dude. Sorry.
Take your time, dude. Damn.
I don't think I can't think of it. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but like anything. We have a better rotation. We have a better lineup. We have a better outfield.
Better colors. Better city.
I genuinely cannot think of anything that the Padres do better than us.
We have a better stadium.
Robben.
You gotta pick one.
You guys might have a better stadium. I'll give you that. Your stadium is pretty nice.
Yeah, yours is like 100 years old.
It's old, and we stole it
and
from
built
the
on
Mexicans
stolen ground,
that used to live there. So I'll give them the stadium. That's what they have. That's better than us. Is the stadium.
I'll take it, dude. Whatever.
I'm sorry, Robben.
It's all right, man. That was really funny.
Dan, you gotta launch the first question at Robben for the Padres, please.
Sure, man. Listen, this is kind of a two-parter. So,
Mhm.
can you put into words for us just what it's like to be a Padre fan in LA's world? And second part, are you okay? Do you need anything? You all right?
I'm chilling, man. I'm one of those Padres fans that holds on to those little things. We were pretty decent in the 2006, 2008 range. I'll bring up 2022 postseason. We surprised the Dodgers. We knocked them out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
But it's not fun being in the light every time. But if there's a team that can do it, I feel like it's this Padres team, man.
Okay.
That's as encouraging as anything. But how do you feel about the team's offseason moves overall now that we've had a series to breathe it in a little bit? Did they do the best they could with what was available? And are they better overall, these Padres, than they were last year?
Overall, honestly, I would say, see, we lost Snell, we lost Soto, we lost Hader. Yes, he was an ego, but he was an arm when he was pitching. I'd say maybe we slightly improved, but maybe by 0.02%, you know what I mean? The bullpen took an L, but our starting rotation also took an L. But Michael King is pretty good. We got some young and up and coming players that we have a lot of faith in that are going to be getting a lot of time in the MLB and also AAA. So I'm excited to see what they do as well. And I'm excited to see a team led by Tatis, Bogarts, and Machado. I want to see what those guys teach these young kids because, like I said, those are three prominent bats in this Major League Baseball season that we have this year. So I'm excited to see this year.
I just want to give you a quick piece of love, Robben, because I think the San Diego Padres starting rotation especially got better. Because I think you do have strong pitchers in 4 of your 5 slots. Ones that I'm excited to watch pitch each day.
Me too.
Darvish, Musgrove, Cease, and King. Yeah, I think
I'm
you
really
are set
excited
up
for
well.
Cease.
Yeah.
He starts against the Giants, man. I'm excited.
It's going to be a really fun first game for that series, definitely. Dan the Man, give some love to Dillon. What's your next question on the Dodgers side of our camp?
Thanks, Warren. We'll stay on kind of a similar idea with lineup construction and some of the new things for the Dodgers this year. Mainly, the top of the batting order looks a lot scarier than it has in recent years. But with that change, how does that make you feel about the bottom of the order? And overall, do you think the team is stronger going into this year than last year?
Oh yeah, I think we're a lot stronger just because Ohtani. I mean, that signing alone really just put us over the top by even though we were already at the top, it just made us that much better. I'm not too worried about the bottom of the lineup because we do have a lot of prospects that we can still call up that are looking pretty solid. I'm hoping they call up Diego Cartaya this year. He's a catcher in AAA, and he's looked pretty solid. So if they can get him implemented into the lineup and maybe cover some games for Will Smith when he wants to have a couple off days, I think they'll be okay. Just if Yamamoto can get it together, the pitching rotation stays healthy, we'll be good.
No reason not to be with the sheer overflowing talent you have. But to give a feather in the cap over to the Padres one more time, I have to say, Jackson Merrill does look like that major leaguer you kind of hope gets injected into this lineup and really helps solidify it against teams like the Dodgers. And how excited should we be for him? Will he play center field or shortstop, or is there any chance he's going to do both? And you got to say, he looks pretty good for a rookie with literally 0 AAA or MLB experience, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I believe he's going to be playing center all year, Warren. He started in center in the Seoul Series, and I believe Kim is looking like our full-time shortstop. for the season. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I believe people should be excited for Jackson Merrill. I'm not biased, but he's my Rookie of the Year candidate because I don't believe Jackson Holiday's playing this year. I think he's still going
It's
to be in
not
AAA, if
starting
I'm not
with the
mistaken.
team.
I would say because they have Gunner and all those other guys. Unless one of those guys gets hurt, I don't see Holiday getting too much playing time this season. Definitely next season. But I touched on it briefly, but I think it's a pretty important stat. Merrill had, when he made contact with the ball in that first game, he had made contact with the ball 6 times despite going over 3, and he had an exit velo of 100 on all 6 of those times.
Right.
If those balls go into play, that is danger. That is doubles, triples, home runs, hard hit balls create rallies. They start rallies, they finish rallies, whatever you want to do. Those are going to be exactly what we need. And like I said, hopefully he just gets it in play.
Absolutely. It does feel that way. And we'll hope that it keeps positive momentum. You see a couple young guys that come to mind for me. I mean, we picked up Luke Raley over in Seattle this year, and he had a great first half of last year, and he didn't do anything in the second half, and he hasn't done a whole lot in spring training this year. So there's always that chance that a younger guy has a hot start and cools off. Of course, we don't wish that for you. Is there a percentage where you fear that might be the case here, or do you think this guy is legit?
I think he's legit.
Good enough for me.
I think he's legit, Warren. I don't think that we'd be starting him in a place like center field on opening day against the Dodgers if we didn't believe in him.
That's facts.
That works for me. Not a problem. Nice.
And him starting in center, like starting the year with the major league team, is a huge step forward. You see so many players progress better because, the team's putting that confidence in them, right? So
yeah, it's a great confidence boost for him.
And he got 2 hits in that second game. And he struck out 3 times in that second game. Like, that's rough, but I mean, at least he's swinging the bat. I'd rather have him swing the bat than not.
Let's twist the question this way. I mean, if he does get put in shortstop at any point during the season, is it more of an indictment on what Kim's been able to do defensively? In other words, that he's not quite living up to expectation? Or is it even more trust in Merrill that he is a defensive anchor for this squad? And is that maybe putting him in a little over his head, do you think?
I think yes to the in over his head, but I also think it'd be a mix of both of the first couple of questions you had as well. So Kim getting moved because of not performing defensively. That's he won the Gold Glove last year. I don't know if they would move him because he wasn't performing defensively, and I also don't think he'd be underperforming defensively. I think if anything, if Merrill is going to be moved to shortstop, I think it's because we moved Kim somewhere else, i.e. a different team. So that's the only way I see Jackson Merrill going to. I know he was coming up as a prospect as a shortstop, but then again, so was Tatis, so was Xander Bogaerts, so was Jake Cronenworth, so was Manny Machado. I mean, the list goes on for our lineup. So this kind of goes to show that we have guys that can play anywhere, and I like that.
Flexibility is huge. One of the biggest things, not just in fantasy baseball, but especially on the field. A guy who can do it all is so valuable. And we see that in guys like Mark Hanna, who continues to get signed all over the place because he's a Swiss Army knife. Guys like Spencer Steer turn a lot of heads in Cincinnati because of how many.
Hard not to say DJ LeMahieu.
Precisely. Good.
Yeah.
There's the examples of the folks who could do it all out there. Utility men are fantastic, regardless of where they are in their career. So that flexibility is big. Turning it back over to you, Dill. I know we talked on this a little bit, but just to grab a spoon and dig deeper, with Gonsolin and Buehler injured, it's a different looking rotation this year. And I have to ask, do you think it's enough? Is Glasnow the right guy to lead the way for this team? And are you worried about Yoshi getting used to the bigs and the rest of the schedule?
As long as Glasnow stays healthy, I'm not too worried about him because he'll get it together. He'll get his ERA under 3, I would imagine. But Yoshi is definitely the one that I'm kind of worried about after that first game.
Amen.
I want to say he'll get it together, but I just for some reason I just have a bad feeling that it's just not going to pan out for us, just because that's just my luck as a Dodger fan.
Fair
But
enough.
I do think the rotation is enough, even if Yamamoto continues to struggle. I do think Glasnow, Kershaw, and I think Bueller's supposed to come back. I'm pretty sure he's supposed to come back this season. And I think once he comes back, I think the rotation will be okay. But Yamamoto is my only concern right now.
How many chances do you give the guy, would you say, before, you start thinking about getting somebody else in there to take his starts? Not that there's a ton of options.
Give him a full season. Give him a full season. See how he does. See if he can get it together. And then I would say go from there.
That's a lot of faith in the team to win 4 out of 5 of the rest of the games, right? But I suppose you can afford that for sure. That's interesting. You'd give him the full season. I know when you see a new pitcher come in and he struggles like like he did yesterday, if it were like a long-term, maybe months at a time thing, you could see a team making a split, quick decision and pulling the plug and getting him in the minors or doing something to like pivot. I really respect that you think they can give him that long a leash. Do you guys agree? Robben, Dan, weigh in on that. Dan, do you think they can afford to give Yamamoto a full season of what we saw yesterday to figure it out?
Afford is the key word. They're paying him too much money to send him to the minors. I don't even know what the option is, but I'm sure he makes a large percentage of his salary. Like it's just finances at that point. Like regardless of how he performs, unless he's just getting worse every start, like Alex Manoah, you have to continue to start him. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I completely agree. They are paying him way too much money to not give him at least a full season, at the very least.
Good. Thank you for that, guys. Go for it. Go forth and try to figure it out, Yami. You'll figure. We have faith.
I do have faith, but like I said, I just have a bad feeling in my gut that it's just not going to pan out.
We all have those gut feelings sometimes, don't we, gents? I mean, anybody have a gut feeling for their team they want to share? You got a gut feeling there, Dan?
I don't need a gut feeling. We're going to be real rough in the pitching department this year. Our opening day starter is Jose Quintana. So, yeah, look out for Edwin Diaz to pitch more games than ever before. Yeah.
My gut feeling is that Luke Raley won't figure it out throughout the entirety of the season, or that we'll get an injury to Mitch Haniger in the right field, and my friend Dominic Canzone won't be able to cover Mitch's productivity. Those are gut fears I have. Robben, you got one for us just for fun?
Gut fear? We'd get rid of Kim to make some crazy move because, if we are hot around the trade deadline and we are looking like we're going to make a decent push in the playoffs, I feel like now's the time to get a championship if we're going to try. Especially, it'd be kind of nice to put a little spoilage on that huge Dodger lineup that they have.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's going to take a lot for that to happen, obviously. But gut feeling possible that would break my heart would be Kim leaving.
Sounds like he's low-key your favorite player in that system, huh?
If it's not Tatis or Machado, it's Ha-Seong Kim, my guy.
I don't blame you. I love Swiss Army knives, and he does a little bit of everything, and he takes the game seriously. I definitely understand why you go there.
Super fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
Well, speaking of rotations, since we kind of talked about the Dodgers, Robben, the Padres rotation minus Blake Snell plus Dillon Cease. What do you think? How does it stack up to last year? And after the Soto trade, are there any other pitching prospects coming up that you're aware of that we should be making note of?
Well, as far as Dillon Cease, Snell leaving, and as far as Snell leaving and Dillon Cease getting added, as well as Michael King getting added, I feel like those are very good arms to to add to this roster. To be honest, if we're gonna lose Snell, we got to add at least 2 arms. But as far as prospects go, I'm pretty sure Brito was one of those prospects that we got.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not realize that he was going to be getting some playing time so soon. But I'm pretty sure he
So
played
as to
last
be.
year with the Yankees. I would say I'm pretty sure he played last year for the Yankees as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm excited to see what he's got. Not in a relief situation though. I want to see what he's like starting. Because I mean, 2 totally different mindsets you have to be in. If we're being completely honest, you kind of got to be bat bleep insane if you're going to be a relief pitcher. And you gotta have to be that control freak if you're going to be a starting pitcher. So I want to see which one he is. Another guy that we brought from over from Japan. I'm excited to see Yuki Matsui pitch. He pitched a little bit in that second game, I believe, and he looked pretty decent. I'm excited to see what he brings to the table. I'm pretty sure he's going to be Suarez's setup guy. But I mean, he's technically a rookie. Excited to see what he brings to our table. But yeah, it's looking like a decent season for us.
Yeah,
Well,
you guys
we'll-
restocked the cabinet.
Yeah, we definitely restocked the rotation. I would like to see a little bit more on the bullpen side as well. It's looking like Yuki Matsui and Suarez are only bright spots. But we'll see what happens as the season progresses, as kids in the AAA progress, and all that other good stuff.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
lots to look forward to.
we'll grab another spoon and dig deeper into the rotate or the lineup that could be with those prospects potentially, or what other tweaks you might make. Because with Soto gone, we have to ask who you feel the core of the team truly is. Who's locked in? Who can you see the Padres moving on from? And how do they bolster the system through those means for the team's future?
I think face of the teams right now, if I had to, it's hard to give it to one person, so I'll give it to 2. It's Manny and Fernando Tatis, man.
Mhm.
Those are definitely the 2 bright spots of our roster. The 2 guys that pretty much everybody on this roster is going to rely on to contribute every night, day in and day out. Like if they're sitting on the bench or if they're having a rest day, they are right there, right on the edge. They're cheering on the guys. They're doing all that. Those are the 2 guys that need to do that in order for this roster to fully develop, fully prosper, and try and take down that coveted Dodgers team. And those are the 2 guys that need to step up in a big way.
Yeah, you're going to need fringe MVP caliber seasons from them to really believe in these Padres. You're not wrong at all. Definitely feel that. But there's a lot of young pieces in that core that I know we've talked about that you're excited about. So the future looks brighter in San Diego than I know Dan expected. Haha. That one's for you, Dan.
For sure.
Let's see. Well,
so talking about brighter futures, when Shohei signed Dillon, we all knew that he wasn't going to pitch this year. It would just be hitting. But I don't know about you. I couldn't help but think about when he's hitting and pitching for the Dodgers. And it just raises the question, that in addition with all the other pitching injuries you've already mentioned, how excited are you already for next year's Dodgers team? And is that one going to be even better than this one?
If Shohei pitches the way he pitched with the Angels, then we might break the record for most wins in a season. But we need Buehler and Gonsolin and Dustin May to all stay healthy, and that's been really hard for all of them their few years they've been in the majors. So I think even if Shohei pitches the way he pitched, but Buehler, Gonsolin, and May can't stay healthy, then we're going to be probably just the same as we are this year. Because Ohtani's probably going to replace Kershaw in the rotation. I'd imagine this is Kershaw's last year.
yeah, it feels that way too. Yeah.
Seems like it, yeah.
So yeah, I think next year, as long as everyone stays healthy, we'll be really, really, really good.
That's kind of a fun thing to open up before we get to our last few questions, gents. Robben, same question to you about the future of the Padres. What's your thought about them in 2025, regardless of how this season goes? Buyers, sellers, any idea of what you're thinking about that far in advance?
I don't know where we would. I think we're gonna be. I think we'll still be where we are. I think we'll still be kind of like on the fringe of what are we doing? Are we going for the championship? Are we gonna develop these young players with these stars that we have? As far as like bright spots for our future, I am really excited for Ethan Salas, my man, our catcher
Ooh.
prospect. He is 18 or 19 years old. He played double A last year as a 17-year-old kid and lit it up. And I'm super stoked to see him. He's getting comparisons as hitting to Juan Soto, defensively to Pudge. I am super stoked. I hope we do not move him at all. I hope he just stays a Padre forever. And I'm super stoked to see what happens with him.
Sounds like a future Dodger to me.
Brother, give me $1 billion.
They will, but they'll defer it.
There it is. Right.
Happy Bobby Bonilla Day.
Okay. I feel attacked.
We don't want Dan to feel attacked. His sensitive butt would get all damaged. Let's move forward then to the last couple questions we have for y'all that are for both of you. And I don't care what order we go in. This is just kind of fun. Regardless of the winner of the series, which technically there wasn't one, which team looked better in Seoul? Guys, give us something that you got excited for the year because of the series and something that concerns you. Who wants to go first?
Robben, go ahead.
It's hard not to be biased, but genuinely, I think the Padres looked pretty. Like, if we looked better, it was maybe a step ahead. And by that one step, you could literally look at the current run differential of the MLB season. The Padres have +1, the Dodgers have -1. That's the way I'm going to look at it. I'll take everything, like I said, against the Dodgers with a grain of salt. But yeah, I genuinely believe we looked the best. I don't think any team like definitively looked like great or good. You know what I mean? One team gave up 15 runs, another team gave up 11 in that second game. That's not great defensively, but I mean, it's great offensively. So, but still, yeah, I'm gonna say Padres.
I think what Robin's trying to say is if the season ended today, the Padres would win the division on the tiebreaker.
That's right.
Boy, what
by
a
technicality.
Be quite the turn of events against expectations. But we'll get to some of the other divisional opponents in a second here. Dillon, same question, man. Again, what concerned you? Which one looked overall better? And what's one thing you've got some excitement about?
I would say overall the team that looked better, I'll be honest, it was the Padres. That they really showed up that second game and just gave it to Yamamoto in the first inning and did what they needed to do and knocked them out.
Yeah.
I would say the one concern I have for the Dodgers again is going to be Yamamoto all year.
Mm-hmm.
If he can get it together, then they'll be okay. But like I said, I just have a feeling that he won't, and it's not going to work out. But the Padres did look better than the Dodgers in that second game, and that. Sorry, I'm trying to control my child real quick. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Good luck.
Amen.
Yeah, it's a hard task. But yeah, I would say the Padres look better. And another concern I have for the Dodgers, as it has been for the last 5 years, is the bullpen.
Mm-hmm.
Bullpen gave up 6. Or no, bullpen gave up 10. My bad. Which is not great.
It's a really good point. Yeah. they seemed a little bit better put together on paper than that performance would suggest. But I feel like that was more just about the bats loosening up and being unafraid to take swings on both sides as that second game team came to a close. Excuse me. So I think it'll be a whole new ball game, metaphorically, and forgive the cliche and the pun. But I think it'll be a whole new ball game when they're back on American turf. So.
Oh yeah. And I think you're the one that put it in the notes. None of the teams really felt the comfort of being at home.
Right.
So I think that might have messed with some of the players a little bit.
I will touch on this. It did not mess with Xander Bogaerts, as he has a hit in 5 different countries professionally.
Wow.
Jesus, does he really?
England, Canada, South Korea, Mexico, and the United States.
Yo.
Wow.
Wow.
Now
for him.
that is the stat of the pod so far. Good job, Rob.
Oh yeah, that
That's
was a
Sorry,
great.
that
pull.
was a great transition by Dillon, so I had to bring it in there. So
Now I kind of want him to pitch in Japan after his pro's over, just to get it for 6.
yeah, right. That's all with MLB teams too.
That's nuts.
Yep. He was in
Oh.
England with the Red Sox,
Wow, that's wild,
and
actually.
then they had that Mexico City series last year.
Yep.
Well, Dan's got a question for both y'all coming up next. Dan, looking into the division. I know you got that.
Yeah, guys, let's make some predictions here, and really what I want to get out of this is, where your team's going to finish, but also who are you worried about in the division besides your own team, besides each other's teams, or I guess you could not besides each other's teams. Of any of the teams in the division, who are you most worried about? Who are you most concerned about? What team coming after your team's projected playoff spot? I'm going to ask this question 4 more different kinds of ways. Sorry. Let's throw it to Dillon first.
Junior's got it. Hang on.
The freaking Diamondbacks, man.
Really?
I'm worried about the Diamondbacks. I'll be honest. I don't want to see them or San Diego in the first round at all. I don't, because of what happened the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So those are it's the Diamondbacks. I think they're going to be fighting for second place, and they might be a lot closer to us than a lot of people think.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and Robben?
I would also say the Diamondbacks if I can't say the Dodgers. Corbin Carroll is quickly becoming one of my favorite players.
Yeah.
That kid can flat out ball.
Dalton
same
Varsho?
thing. Yeah, Dalton Varsho. What's Alec Thomas?
Mm-hmm.
To name a few of those young guns that they have over there. I mean, Diamondback squad's got bodies. Plus, they got some of the best unis in baseball. So it's hard not to be on the lookout for those snakes.
And their rotation is probably the second best in the NL West.
Yeah, Zach Gallen is going to be painting corners this year.
Oh, I'm afraid of those Diamondbacks too. If I were you guys, I am full on bandwagoning. They obviously have pieces of the
It's time to
Mariners
hop on the
move forward.
wagon.
For sure.
It's time to hop on the wagon.
They're my National League team. I like rooting for the fact that Suarez and Seawald have found their way over to Arizona, and I can't help but be excited for them. And I do also fully endorse those unis. You have great taste. Nothing like the maroon and black. It's such a great combo to me. Oh, man.
Yep.
And there's a lot of buzz around them. They're a better team than they were last season.
Mm-hmm.
They have reason to believe that they've got enough chemistry to push back even the Dodgers. I did go on our pod and name them as my divisional winner, the D-backs that is, just to say something different from what I expected everybody else to say. But I'm sort of surprised nobody's giving the Giants a bigger bump here. I guess we're all pretty frustrated by the decisions they make as decisions they made as an organization.
They don't deserve the time of day.
There it is.
They don't.
Boom. Bam. Put them in the
See,
trash
baby,
can.
like that.
We got to find somebody who believes in the Giants, Dan, to try to put next to these guys. It would be a fun conversation to try to mix it up with.
Joel.
Yeah, see how much he has to say on it. Oh, he's probably more pissed than anybody.
Hey, guy.
Oh, for sure.
Oh my
Hey,
goodness.
partner.
All right, buddy.
I don't know this person. So
You'd love
I'm
him.
out.
He's a great
Okay.
guy.
A great guy, except he likes the Giants, right?
Yep,
Hey,
unfortunately.
he's a 49er fan, so I give him some slack.
Boom. Yeah, you're a bit of a turncoat there, Dillon.
Yeah.
You cross your California streams a little bit. I see you.
Yeah.
All right, guys. This is it. This is the big one. We had to know it was coming. It's time for us to answer definitively. Give us your predictions of your team's final record. I know that, Robben, you slipped it in earlier. We'll ask for it again. Any award winners on the team and their postseason record if they make it, by the way.
Oh, I'm sorry. Postseason record. Like I said, I think we secure that wild card 2 spot. Postseason record. I think we wild card 2 plays wild card 3. Correct.
Correct.
Yes.
I think we beat out wild card 3 each time. So that's a game 1. That's a 1 game series.
No, it's best of 3.
2?
Best of 3 these days.
Yeah,
I think we sweep.
anymore.
I think we sweep wild card 3. Depending on who, we'd probably have to play the Braves. Eesh. Are they the Braves or the Dodgers?
Or the Dodgers.
We would have to.
Yeah.
I think it'd be the Dodgers.
All right. If we're gonna go full postseason record, I think we go 4-4. And then as far as award winners, I think Merrill gets Rookie of the Year, and I think we have a Gold Glove in on Kim and Fernando again.
Okay.
And Dillon, same question. This is your time to shoot your shot. How high are you guys going to fly this year?
I say the Dodgers win 112 games this year.
That's right.
Postseason, we'll play what maximum of, because we'll probably get the first round bye.
You got to go 12-0 or 16-0.
I'll say like 12-5 in the postseason.
You think you lose 5?
Yeah, I mean it's the Dodgers. They always blow up in the postseason.
That's fair. I don't know if you guys lose 5.
I think we do. I think we'll lose 1 in the divisional. We'll probably lose 2 in the NLCS, and then World Series goes 7.
Kershaw loses like 2 of the 5.
Probably. I wouldn't doubt it. Award winners, I think Mookie can get a Gold Glove at short this year. Freddie at first, Gold Glove. Mookie MVP.
You mean Freddie at third, Gold Glove?
I wish. I wish. But yeah, I think Mookie's going to win a Gold Glove at short this year. Freddie at first. Our outfield, not that great defensively. Outman doesn't look... I mean, he had a decent rookie year last year. I expect him to have a little bit of a better year this year, but didn't look great in the series against the Padres, I'll be honest. He also committed an error.
Dude, nobody's talking about Bobby Miller in this chat, by the way. Speaking about rookies who look good going into this year, I would want him on my team. But go ahead. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, you're good. I love Bobby Miller. I think he can be if they call him up, I think he can be a candidate for Rookie of the Year.
Nice. So, how about this then? If you make it to the World Series, Dillon, who is the team that's taking you to 7 games?
I think it's going to be Baltimore.
Ooh.
I like that Baltimore team, man. And I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they beat us. I genuinely would not be surprised if they beat us.
What?
Because they have a really good young squad. Adley Rutschman, Jackson Holiday, like they're going to be good for at least the next 10 years.
Oh man, Dan, I got to give it to you, man. You picked the most grounded, realistic, and self-effacing Dodgers fan you could have possibly brought on to talk about.
It was tough.
You know, you had to
Just wait
find-
till they start winning, Warren. Just wait
Yeah.
for winning. You'll hear this guy when he really wants to talk.
We'll definitely
It's
need to check in with you guys at the very latest around the All-Star break, but I'm sure we'll see you
Midway
again
point through
sooner
the season is going to be a different pod. I'll tell you what.
That'll be interesting.
Well, we'll definitely put a tab in it because we love chatting with you about your teams. Congratulations on a great first series with so much to read and appreciate and enjoy. I think we all grabbed our popcorn and found reasons to really get excited about this upcoming Major League Baseball season, more so than we expected. There's going to be some parity, maybe some dynamics we didn't expect, and well, we'll certainly want to welcome you back to touch base on where we're at and get those bases covered once again. Dan, just double checking. Anything else that we maybe didn't cover on this specific trip around the bases?
I think we wrapped it up. I think everyone would agree the Seoul Series was a success. Really cool environment. Great to see the game spreading and the fandom that's out there in Korea. And we could see that by all the prospects coming through. And
3.5 hour game, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, yesterday is big time.
Yeah. But also just big thank you to both of our guests. Robben and Dillon both been super supportive of us, and a little bit of a reference to the old wild cards. So thank you guys for coming on, and really appreciate your contribution.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, dude, for real. Thanks for having us. This was a nice breath of fresh air on this front. Like you said, throwback to the wild cards. It felt good.
Yeah.
I'm sure it won't be the last time we do it. I do want to thank you too as well. It's a pleasure to hear you guys in such beautiful audio quality. And thanks for being patient with me trying to helm a previous podcast project for those of you listening along. Don't look it up. It's okay. It won't be worth the audio quality.
No, look it up. What? There's some gold in there. Are you kidding me? Look at that. Look at the 2020 predictions pod. That's a lot.
Oh, Jesus.
Boy. I listened
Warren
to that.
going in on Ohtani in that pod, by the way, saying he has to earn his contract.
I'm sure he did.
Guys, the incredible amount of depth I've jumped into baseball since then really made me laugh my butt off re-listening to that. So yeah, whatever, guys. I'm sure Dan will find a way to advertise the old Wildcards content for those who are curious. But we covered our bases today. It was a blessing to hear from both of you. Thank you for being here. We'll welcome you back as soon as we can make this happen again. I don't know why not. We have such a blast talking baseball, and you guys add a lot to the program. So, my name has been Warren Sprague, Cubs Grizzles, which doesn't matter. Dastardly Dan Harrow over there. For our good friend Robben Stever.
Thank you, guys.
For our good friend Dillon Rodriguez.
Thank you for having me.
We wish you all a fantastic baseball afternoon, and we'll catch you next time we take a trip around the bases.